How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to answer some of your questions. I've been doing this more often, and I kind of like this. I think it's a little bit easier than going live, especially because sometimes the questions come so fast in live that I can't work through them fast enough. So I kind of like this, where I just answer some of your questions here. But yeah, let's take a look at some of the questions for the day. I think I might be doing this, like I said, pretty much every day. But of course, like I'm not doing research before answering these questions, so there might be stocks that I've never heard of, and we can't go through every question real in depth just because there are a lot of questions here. But let's start. So the first question: thoughts on THBR, Sam, with the supposed semiconductor shortage, worth investing? So THBR is one that I think I did own for a little while, but then I sold it. I bought it really low, I think, and then sold it when it moved up a little bit. But I haven't looked at the company in a while since I did the initial DD. It was something that went up pretty drastically, or I guess back in the time it wasn't drastically because it went up 35% or something, but might be a good one. Not too much downside at this point. So yeah, I just haven't done enough research to really tell you if it's a good company to invest in. What are your thoughts at buying in on ChargePoint before the earnings call? So I really like ChargePoint long term. I really am thinking about buying more just in general because I do like it. But it is a larger portion of my portfolio now. But I think it's a company that's really good. But after earnings, you never know what's going to happen. This was something too that was in the $21 range. I actually think it might have dropped below 20 at some point. In my head, I have that. But yeah, now it's up a good amount. It's in the low 30s. I still think it's a value here if you're thinking really long term, but who knows right after earnings. Any more thoughts on TTOO, long or short term? I still like it. It's a company that I plan on holding for a while. I don't plan on selling it. Any good entry points on long term stocks that pay dividends? Interesting. Okay, so I'm pulling up my dividend portfolio here. I haven't been researching a ton of dividend paying stocks. You have to realize some tech stocks will eventually pay dividends too, but Chase is kind of expensive now. Let's see what Store Capital is at. Store Capital is, I still think Store Capital is pretty good. It's not really a huge dividend payer. AT&T is still under 30. IIPR's come down a good amount. If you're looking at getting into the cannabis space, it's come down from over 200 to 177. Still kind of expensive, but those are a couple right there off the top of my head. But again, I haven't been looking at like huge growth in the dividend area or space. Do I think EVs are truly recovering from the past weeks, or you are expecting a sell-off by tomorrow? I'm not expecting a sell-off. I think they're recovering because so many people were fearful of the entire market, and EVs had gone up so much. Like NIO itself was like a $5 stock last summer, or whatever it was. So yeah, I think people just realized it had gone up 1,200%, and then they sold it off first, but now people are buying it back. But what do I know? It could sell off more. What do I think about TPGY? TPGY. I don't think I've looked. Okay, so this is TPG Pace. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I've looked into this one really deeply. Yeah, I don't know what this company does. It reminds me of the other Pace, but it's not the same one. They're cheap, though, compared to where they were still, but yeah, I don't know about that one. Some kind of finance company, it looks like, maybe. Thoughts on Roblox? Good entry price. Yeah, so Roblox is just one of those ones. All these IPOs, I guess this wasn't an IPO, but all these new stock offerings or all these companies going public are just jumping up so much. Like the market cap's 40 billion. I started to look into it, but it jumped up like such a good amount since it opened. I think it was supposed to come in at like $45 a share or something. I don't know. Maybe long term it's good. I just think there are other places to put money. But like I said, I haven't gone super in depth in it just because I saw it was jumping up so much. I was looking into other companies instead. Prospects on NPA is I hold 40 shares with average $20. I believe you sold at a 20% loss. Is it worth keeping at all? Yeah, so I sold NPA as one of the stocks yesterday because I had bought such a small amount that it wasn't worth me keeping track of. So NPA is a really like the company itself is a really risky stock. That being said, I don't think it's very expensive right now compared to the redemption value. So it's $12.70. I think the play on this, if you were trying to hold it, would be you could see how long it is before ARK Invest comes out with ARK X because it is down a lot, right? I just found other stuff that I wanted to put money in. But yeah, this was a $22 stock, $23 stock, and it's down a good amount. But yeah, you could hold it, see if ARC X comes out. It might jump up on that news. Thoughts on Exile Fleet? Exile Fleet had something that came out, I think, recently, but I don't remember what it was. Um, did they have like a short report or something? Or I don't remember. There's something that came out because it fell under 10. Maybe it's just people being really worried about it. I don't know. So it's a class action lawsuit. I don't know if this is just the normal. Okay, so it's a short seller report. I haven't looked into it since the short seller report because I haven't owned it. So I didn't do research on it, but yeah, it is selling at a big discount still. It's down like 61%. So a lot of the time with these short reports, a lot of them don't have anything relevant to them. So I guess you have to look at the short report, see if it actually makes sense, then determine if you want to take the risk with it or not. What's your opinion on ZOM? ZOM is another one that I just haven't really taken a look into since I did that first video because I never invested in it. ZOM is pretty, well, it kind of sold off a little bit, but now it's trading sideways a little bit. Yeah, so ZOM pharma stock, I haven't looked into it, so it's probably one of those ones that has make or break catalyst, but I can't really remember. I looked into so many pharma stocks, it's hard to even remember all of them. Thoughts on Ride, goodbye at 17. Yeah, so the thing about Ride is if they can be first to market on their pickups and actually sell all their, like a good number of those pre-orders, the stock is going to blow up. If they don't, it's probably going to be one of those things where it's like winner take all. Where they might just, if they're too far behind, they might never get traction in the market. How do you determine a good long-term entry point for a stock? So the tough thing this year is so many long-term stocks, so many good long-term stocks are up, 100, 200, 300, 500%. Like Neo, Square, Disney, like all these stocks are up so much. So one thing that I try to do is I try to really think about these stocks on red days. So the thing is, you can continue waiting for a red day, and it might never come. So it's kind of it's a difficult mix. So I'm probably contradicting myself here, but if you start researching the stock and you really like it, and it's been up and up and up, you have to run the numbers, make sure that you're okay with the long term growth. But then if it does dip red, I don't try to wait for something to dip red. I just take a look at it if it's got good movement, if it's got good sentiment, if it's got good numbers, if it's going to grow revenue, if it's got good cash, then I'll really consider buying it. But then especially if it turns red, then I'm really interested, if that makes sense. It's kind of a balancing act where you don't want to wait too long because sometimes these just keep on running. But it's all about the future guidance and where the stock is now, too. You can't just base it off, oh, NEO was a $5 stock last year, so at $32 it's not a good stock or something, because it's a different company than it was. I want to get in on car collecting. Any tips where to look first? I would probably start talking with people online about car collecting and see if you can gain some knowledge, because honestly, I don't know much about it. I have someone else that does the investing for me because I know him, and I gave him money to buy the cards for me and stuff, and I trust him. My lesson learned from the recent dip, I'm looking for some low volatility, large cap stocks to store profits long term, and then if a dip comes along, I have plenty of capital to take advantage. Top few stocks you suggest for this or something would be good. Okay, so George, there were a lot of long-term stocks that dipped a lot. I mean, it depends on the kind of dip, right? So it depends on what sector is going down, because tech sold off this time. It could just as easily been travel, like last year when the pandemic hit. Like, it's hard to know what sector is going to dip. However, if you go for some larger stocks that have just solid growth, like Apple, Amazon, Google, those probably won't dip as much as high growth stocks. Now, that being said, they still could dip. So just be careful there. But those are some ones if you're really looking for low volatility. But you're probably not gonna get as much growth as if you're going for ultra growth stocks. But that's where I also like BlockFi a little bit too, because it pays you some good interest, like 8.6%. I'm gonna put money there while I'm waiting for some deals, I think. Thoughts on BFT as long hold versus swing trade? Yeah, I think it's gonna be a good long-term hold stock. That being said, I'm not sure I will hold it long term. The reason I say that is there might be some other companies that come up that I see more value in, and I might sell BFT just because I think there's more value somewhere else, and the position is kind of one of those medium-sized positions for me. It's not like super large, but it's also not super small either. So it gives me some good ammunition if I want to put in something else, but also it's not too large that I'm really selling a good portion of my portfolio. So it's almost like the perfect size if I see some opportunity. So I might sell it, but right now I'm not looking to do that right now. Meta Materials merging with Torchlight votes tomorrow. MMATF holders will get a 1-3 share split. Okay. Any idea how high or what to expect from a dividend like that? TRCH holders will receive a 1-1 with a specialty dividend after assets are liquidated. Yeah, I have no idea off the top of my head how they're going to do that or what the dividend could look like on that. Sorry. What are my thoughts on ASRT? Acerto Holdings. Yeah, I don't know what this company is. Pharmaceutical company, 150 million. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. SOACDA was announced today. Deep green metals looks very interesting, especially that there are not a whole lot of companies doing minerals. Reminds me of MP. Interesting. Yeah, so I got a message. I have a SPAC service, and I got a message about that overnight. I'm just pulling it up here. At least I think I did. Maybe I got it a little while ago. I'm not sure, but I need to look into that one. Blue Sphere has been dark for several weeks and have a deadline to file with the SEC. What actions can I take if they delist? Yeah, so I have no idea what this company is. I've never heard of it, but you could sell now if they're not delisted and try to get your money back. What should you do with it? I have I have some Just Energy stock. What should you do with it? I'm not sure. I don't know the company. So that's where like a lot of these companies I've never heard of. If I don't talk about the company, I might not know about it. I mean, there are companies like Aero where I don't talk about it, but I know about it. But some other companies I just have no idea on, just because there's so many different companies. Thoughts on Aero? Downside is bullish, but is super sensitive to the market movement and volatility. What do you think will happen? Okay, so Aero is one that I was looking into too. It moved up a lot though after Denside talked about it, so then I didn't want to buy it because it had moved up so much. And I'm also sensitive to the market movement, just because this is a speculative stock. I think they have positive growth catalysts, but also, like, look at this. It's very volatile. So it could be good long term, but I probably won't invest in it. I've been looking into some other companies that are just a little bit more stable. This one's a $240 million. Actually, it's bigger than that. I think it's a SPAC, right? Isn't it a SPAC? Or no, maybe it's not SPAC. I don't remember. But yeah, they're an EV company, and they're really small. So they're going to be very volatile. They're in a very niche market. What do you think will happen to CLSK price when all Bitcoins are mined? So if you've looked into this, Bitcoin isn't going to be finished mining until 2140, I believe the date is, because they keep on having how many Bitcoin are mined. So like if people keep on buying Bitcoin miners, they'll just decrease how fast they can mine them. So there's something called there's a halving process where for the same amount of energy, it gets halved, and that just happened last year, I believe, and it's like every 3 years and 10 months at this point. So we'll probably see a dip in Bitcoin mining stocks like 2 or 3 years from now, but maybe even a little bit earlier. I'm not sure exactly, depending on the price of Bitcoin and everything like that. But yeah, so you don't have to worry about all the Bitcoin being mined for a while. Anything on Sorrento Pharma? I don't know what I don't know any news on that. Gig Space Stock talking with Lightning eMotors. What's your view on it, please? I bought it earlier this last week and I sold it for like a 10% profit or something. Probably good long term, but I had been trying to trim positions and I didn't have a big one in that. Recommendations on stocks that got hit hard that didn't run halfway back up yet. I just did a video on that the other day, like 1 or 2 days ago. So you can take a look at that. What's your view on EV toll market in the future, and if these companies may work with BlackSky and Palantir? Yeah, so I'm invested into Archer, and I'm also invested into I forgot. There's another one. Man, this is rough. I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe I sold it. I might have sold it. So I'm invested in Archer. My view on the EV toll market in general is I think if it's speculative because we don't know how long it will take. However, the technology's never been better. So if they can get this up and working, it's one of those like 10x or 0x kind of things where eventually they'll have to make a product, and if they do and it works well, I think there's going to be a huge market for it. But if they can't get it going, if they can't make it work, if they can't get it to pass regulations and stuff, it's going to be rough. But it's a risk I'm willing to take. I think that they probably will work with different companies like this, but I could be wrong too. Okay, so that brings us to, I think, all the questions in here. Let's see. I think that's all of them. And then we have some questions in Discord too. Okay, so this might be a long video, but we'll see. Isn't there more volatility in the Bitcoin mining stocks, but more upside? I look at growth percentages and see that there is more money to be made. Yeah, so there is more volatility, right? There are more things happening in Bitcoin mining stocks because you have the volatility of Bitcoin, but then you also have the volatility of people like looking at Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes down 5%, people might sell off a good amount, a lot more than that. So they usually trade at multiples of Bitcoin, but also they can get more miners, they can do different things. So they're more volatile, I would say, yes. What penny stocks do I hold currently? I still hold, okay, I don't know if I know all of them off the top of my head. Let me pull them up on Fidelity. I hold TTOO, BNGO, which BNGO is technically not a penny stock, SENS, CTXR, FRX, which isn't a penny stock either. I hold a tiny bit of TSNP, but again, I haven't bought any of that recently. I bought it a long time ago and bought a small amount. Then ABML, and then I think that might be it off the top of my head. But if I haven't said that I sold it, then I haven't. Some people always ask me that, but let me just pull it up here real quick because I have it here. Okay, so I do have COUV also is one, Time is the other one. And then, yeah, I talked about all the other ones. AGTC I hold too, and that's almost a penny stock. But those are all very small portions of my portfolio, just to let you guys know. What are my thoughts on BNGO? I like it long term. Just wanted to let you know that I really like this new daily question and answer. I know you probably can't do it every day going forward, but it would be good to have at least a couple of times a week, let's say question and answer Tuesdays or something where we can ask questions and wait for the answer. Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think that that's good too. And it's, like I said, it's easier to do this than it is for me to do a live every day. Because this I can move around depending on what's going on in the market. Because I don't want to set up a time and then have like some big news come out and then not be able to cover it kind of thing. Okay, holding 500x MPLN and wondering if the stock can recover to $10. I have no idea what Multi-Plan Corporation does, really. Yeah, sorry. I'm not sure on that one. Any updates on Sense? So they had their, I think they had their earnings no, 2 weeks ago. But I haven't heard any updates on them. I don't think I looked the other day on their website and they didn't have any updates. I'm still holding it. It's a long-term hold for me. Like I'm okay waiting until their 180-day system gets announced and making sure, like holding through that. I think the FDA approval will send it up. But yeah, so I think that's all the questions. I appreciate you guys asking them. Hopefully we can do this and continue to do this. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.